You've heard about Australia's in-demand skills lists, the ones that promise job offers, migration pathways, and fast-tracked visas. But what about the other side of that coin? The not-so-glamorous, low-demand occupation list. The occupations that have quietly fallen out of favor in 2025. Yes, there's no official government document title for this list, but if you read between the lines of the Department of Home Affairs, updates, migration review notes, and industry trends, it's pretty clear which professions Australia isn't exactly rolling out the red carpet for anymore. So today, let's look at the unwanted side of Australia's skills landscape for 2025, who's being quietly pushed out, why it's happening, and what it says about the country's direction in jobs, migration, and the economy. Let's start with a truth everyone in the visa world knows, but rarely says out loud. The skills lists aren't just about who's needed. They're also about who's no longer wanted. When a job disappears from the skilled occupation list or gets downgraded to a regional-only option, it's basically the government's polite way of saying, "Thanks for your service, but we're good now." This year, that polite wave-off is happening to a surprising mix of traditional trades, middle management roles, and even some tech jobs that used to be hot a few years ago. 1. The fall of the middle manager. First on the chopping block, administrative and middle management roles. Positions like office managers, sales administrators, and general clerks are being quietly squeezed out. Why? Because automation, AI systems, and smaller company structures have made these roles less essential. Australian businesses are focusing on productivity per employee, which is a fancy way of saying fewer people doing more work for roughly the same pay. So, if you're managing spreadsheets, approving leave forms, or coordinating people who coordinate other people, the system might now consider your skill replaceable. Not because you're not valuable, but because software can now do your job faster and without asking for annual leave. 2. Retail and hospitality roles. Next up, retail managers and certain hospitality roles. This one hurts because Australia's retail and cafe culture is huge, but with the cost of living crisis and staff shortages over the last few years, many small businesses either closed or shifted to online operations. Hospitality workers like cafe supervisors, bar managers, and certain customer service positions are being taken off priority migration lists. The reasoning? Domestic supply has bounced back, and the government wants to push employers to hire local young Australians before turning overseas. So, for now, if you were planning to migrate as a restaurant manager or retail supervisor, Australia might tell you, try again next year. We've got locals available. 3. The quiet exit of certain IT roles. This one surprises people. You'd think the tech industry would be the safest bet forever, but in 2025, even the digital world isn't immune to change. Some IT occupations, especially the more generalist or outdated ones, are slipping off the wanted list. For example, roles like ICT support technicians or basic web developers are less in demand. The new focus is on cybersecurity, AI integration, and cloud architecture. If you're the kind of IT professional who builds websites or manages basic networks, you're being edged out by automation tools, cloud-based systems, and a younger generation of tech workers who can do the same thing faster, remotely, and cheaper. So yes, Australia still wants tech workers, just not that kind of tech worker. 4. Construction trades, winners and losers. The building and construction sector is always political in Australia. One year you're essential, the next you're oversupplied. Currently, carpenters, electricians, and plumbers are still safe, but certain subtrades like visual arts, painter, is being scaled back. The reasoning is simple. The domestic workforce has caught up. Training programs over the last few years have flooded the market with locals in some areas. It's not that Australia doesn't need some of these skills, it's just that there are enough people available locally now, and the migration system wants to target higher-value construction skills like quantity surveying, project management, and civil engineering. So while the tradie stereotype is still alive and well, the migration door is a little tighter for those with non-specialized trade skills. 5. The healthcare shuffle. Healthcare is usually bulletproof when it comes to visa eligibility, but even here, there's a quiet reshuffle. Australia is now oversupplied with certain allied health professionals, like physiotherapy assistants and even some aged care supervisors. The government has poured money into training locals in these fields, so the migration program is now pivoting towards specialized areas. Think mental health, remote nursing, and aged care nurses in rural regions. In short, if your skill can be trained locally in under 2 years, it's sliding toward the rejected category. But if it requires years of study, licensing, and experience, like psychiatry or surgical nursing, you're still golden. 6. Creative professions on the sidelines. Here's where it gets a little depressing. Many creative jobs are nowhere to be found on the priority lists anymore. Graphic designers, journalists, photographers, and video producers have been off the radar for a while. The market is saturated, and the rise of freelance gig work means the government sees no need to import more talent here. It's not that Australia doesn't appreciate creativity, it's just that the migration system sees it as non-essential. In a country dealing with housing shortages, healthcare gaps, and infrastructure strain, importing more designers isn't exactly top priority. So, creative people are still welcome, just not on a skilled visa. 7. Agriculture and regional fatigue. Regional migration was once the golden ticket, especially through visas like the 494. But in 2025, even regional employers are getting pickier. Some low-skilled farm jobs that were previously eligible under regional migration streams are being phased out. Fruit pickers, general farmhands, and livestock workers are no longer prioritized. Instead, the government wants agriculture specialists, people who can bring automation, technology, or advanced knowledge to the table. So yes, farms still need hands, but Australia's immigration system wants brains behind those hands now. The new motto seems to be, don't just pick the fruit, help us redesign the orchard. 8. Education, a shift in focus. Teachers are still needed, but not all of them. The focus has shifted to STEM teachers, special education, and early childhood educators in remote regions. But high school humanities, teachers, arts educators, and private tutors are facing reduced demand. The reason is simple: domestic oversupply. University graduates in these fields are outpacing job openings. So, while Australia still values education, it's trimming the list down to the areas where shortages are most severe. The rest move to the back of the visa queue. What this means for migrants. If you're an aspiring migrant, this can sound discouraging, but it's not the end of the road. It just means strategy matters more than ever. You can't rely on outdated lists or assume your job will stay eligible forever. You need to look at where Australia is heading, not where it's been. For example, if you're in IT support, pivot to cybersecurity. If you're a hospitality worker, specialize in management or regional operations. Thanks for watching, and if you're still trying to figure out where you stand on the list, remember, it's about being ready when the next opportunity opens up.